Two new high schools are coming to Sylvan Lake. And if you own property here, this could matter more than you think. Not because prices magically jump overnight, but because one of the biggest reasons family buyers hesitated on Sylvan Lake in the first place may have just been removed. On March 5th, Premier Danielle Smith announced planning funding for two new high schools in Sylvan Lake. Two new schools, one shared campus, one for Chinook's Edge School Division, one for Red Deer Catholic Regional Schools. And this is a much bigger deal than most people realize. Because for years, families have loved the lake, loved the lifestyle, loved the neighborhoods, loved the idea of raising their kids in Sylvan Lake. Then came the question, what happens when our kids get to high school? That question creates hesitation. Some families worried about capacity, some worried about busing, some worried about whether Sylvan Lake could support their whole family journey from kindergarten through graduation. I've had that conversation with buyers more times than I can count. I've been selling real estate in Sylvan Lake for 26 years, and I've lived here since 1976. I have watched this town grow from a quiet summer destination into one of Alberta's fastest growing communities. And I can tell you this announcement changes the family buyer conversation in Sylvan Lake. So in this video, I'm going to break down what was approved, why the schools are needed, what this new campus could become, and what this means for buyers, sellers, property owners, and the long-term real estate story in Sylvan Lake. To understand why this announcement matters so much for real estate, first you have to understand the problem it's solving. Right now, Sylvan Lake has one public high school, H.J. Cody. H.J. Cody was built in 1957. Think about that for a second. A school that was built in 1957 is trying to serve one of Alberta's fastest growing communities in 2026. That tells you almost everything you need to know. H.J. Cody is already at 100% capacity utilization, not projected to be, already over it. And without a new high school, it has been projected to reach around 120% capacity in the next 5 years. That's not just a problem. That's a community growth problem, and a growth problems eventually become real estate problems. Because when a town is growing as fast as we are, probably faster than its infrastructure, families notice, buyers notice, builders notice, sellers notice, and parents definitely notice. But the public school side is only one part of the story. On the Catholic side, the issue has been even more personal for a lot of families. Right now, approximately 375 grade 9 to grade 12 Catholic students from Sylvan Lake area are being bused into Red Deer for high school. That means families who wanted a Catholic education pathway could stay in Sylvan Lake through elementary and middle school, but when high school came, kids had to travel to Red Deer every day. That's a big deal. That's extracurricular activities. That's winter driving. That's family routine. And for some buyers, that was enough to make them hesitate. I've seen it firsthand. Family loves the home. They love the neighborhood. They love being close to the lake. They love the idea of their conversation. And suddenly the decision gets more complicated. That is what this announcement changes. This is not about adding classrooms. It's about making it easier for families to say, yep, we can build our whole lives here. And when a community becomes easier for families to commit to, well, it changes the real estate conversation 100%. Now, let's talk about what is actually being planned, because this is where the announcement gets even more interesting. This is just not two ordinary schools being dropped beside each other. This plan is for a shared collegiate style campus. One campus, two distinct high schools, one operated by Chinook's Edge School Division, one operated by Red Deer Catholic. The public side is expected to provide about 975 student spaces. The Catholic side is expected to serve roughly 3 to 375 students initially, with a long-term capacity of around 500. Altogether, the campus is expected to provide roughly 1,475 high school spaces in Sylvan Lake. That is a major capacity shift, but the capacity is only part of the story. The bigger story is the model. This campus is being planned as a collegiate model, which means the schools have separate core learning spaces while sharing specialized facilities. Think trade labs, career training spaces, learning commons, gymnasium, potential community spaces, shared facilities that would be difficult, expensive, or inefficient to duplicate in two separate buildings. And if you want to understand what that could look like in real life, we already have a smaller version of that model right here in Sylvan Lake. Fox Run School and Mother Teresa operate integrated site, with public and Catholic schools functioning independently while sharing major spaces like gyms, fine arts areas, commercial kitchen, and specialized labs, plus the land. So this idea of a shared education space is not brand new to Sylvan Lake. We already have seen a version of it work here. The new high school campus is essentially the next level version of that idea, scaled up to grades 10 to 12 with trade labs, career programming, and potential post-secondary partnerships built into the model. And here's the part that most people are probably not paying enough attention to yet. This new campus is expected to become Central Alberta Collegiate Institute hub. That matters because this means the campus is not just about giving Sylvan Lake residents a new high school. It's about bringing more skilled trades and career programming directly to Sylvan Lake. Right now, some of that specialized programming requires students to travel into Red Deer, including Red Deer Polytechnic facilities. The long-term vision is to bring more of that opportunity here. Labs, shops, career-focused programming, hands-on training, and not only for Sylvan Lake students. The plan is for this hub to potentially serve from surrounding communities like Eckville, Bentley, Caroline, Rocky Mountain House, and all other rural areas in the area. That is a much bigger story. This is not Sylvan Lake just getting new classrooms. This is Sylvan Lake positioning itself as an education and trades hub for a wider region. And from a real estate perspective, yeah, that matters because strong schools attract families, career pathways attract students, training hubs support workforce development, and communities with better infrastructure become easier places for people to justify moving to and much harder places for them to leave. Now, I want to be very clear about this timeline. This announcement is for planning funding. That means the project still has to move through planning, design, and then construction. New schools do not appear overnight. They said the new school can typically take 3 to 5 years from planning approval, depending on the project and the funding timeline. So no, this doesn't mean the doors open tomorrow, but here's the key real estate point. Real estate does not wait for ribbon cutting. Real estate reacts to confidence. And this announcement gives families, buyers, builders, property owners a lot more confidence in Sylvan Lake's future. Now, let's talk about what most people are really wondering. What does this mean for property values? First, I want to be careful. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that every home in Sylvan Lake suddenly jumps by a certain percentage because of this announcement. That is not how real estate works. There are always other factors: interest rates, inventory, a broader Alberta economy, buyer demand, affordability, employment, and timing. But I will say this: schools are one of the strongest long-term confidence signals a community can receive. And in Sylvan Lake's case, this announcement matters for 3 big reasons. The first reason is demand. There are families who already wanted Sylvan Lake but had some concerns about high school capacity. Some were concerned about busing. Some were concerned about having a full K-12 education pathway in one community. Some people did not want their kids commuting to Red Deer for high school. Those buyers are now back in the conversation. And when more families can seriously consider a community, demand increases. The second reason is hesitation. In real estate, removing buyer objection is extremely powerful. A buyer can love a house, but they can still hesitate. A buyer can love a neighborhood and still hesitate. A buyer can love a town and still hesitate. And one of the biggest sources of hesitation for families is school planning. Where will the kids go? How long is the commute? What happens after grade 9? Oh my God, we need to move again. Will this community still work for us 5 to 10 years from now? This announcement gives families a stronger answer to those questions. It does not solve every decision for every family, but removes a major concern. And when you remove hesitation, more buyers move forward. Third reason is long-term growth. Sylvan Lake's already been growing. The town grew roughly 17% over a 10-year span and close to 7% over 5 years, making it one of the fastest growing communities in Alberta. That growth has already put pressure on schools. It's already pushed the town to think about infrastructure differently. And now the province is formally acknowledging that growth with a major education investment. That matters because when a community gets new infrastructure, especially family-focused infrastructure, it sends a message. It says this place is not just about growing by accident. It's being planned for. It's being invested in. It is becoming more complete. That matters to families. It matters to most builders. It matters to investors for sure. And it matters to property owners. So when people ask me, will this affect values? My answer is not in a simple overnight way, but yes, it will absolutely strengthen the long-term real estate story. Because the more complete Sylvan Lake becomes as a year-round family community, the more attractive it becomes to buyers who are not just looking for lake property. They're looking for a life. That is the difference. Sylvan Lake has always had a lifestyle appeal. The lake, the trails, the community, proximity to Red Deer, proximity to Edmonton and Calgary, the ability to enjoy the 4-season lifestyle. But now you're adding stronger local high school options, Catholic and public pathways. and a regional trades and career hub. That combination is wickedly powerful. The buyers who understand that before the broader market fully prices it in may be in a stronger position than buyers who wait until the school doors are already open. So, when should we be paying attention to this? Right now? Let me break it down. First, families thinking about moving to Sylvan Lake. This is probably the group most directly affected. If you have younger kids and you've been wondering whether Sylvan Lake works for the long term, this announcement gives you a little bit a different picture. Absolutely it does. You're no longer just looking at the community as it exists today. You're looking at where it's headed, the projection, a stronger K-12 pathway, more local options, less pressure on existing schools, less need for high school students to leave the community every day. That makes Sylvan Lake easier to choose. Second, current homeowners. If you own property in Sylvan Lake, this announcement adds strength to the story of your home and your community. That does not mean you sell tomorrow, and it doesn't mean you change your whole plan overnight. But if you're thinking about selling in the next 1 to 3 years, this becomes part of that conversation. A buyer's not buying your house. They're buying the neighborhood. They're buying the community. They're buying the future they believe the community is moving forward. And this announcement gives that future way more credibility. Third, sellers who own family-oriented homes. If you have a home that appeals to families, extra bedrooms, finished basement, nice yard, proximity to parks, access to schools, good neighborhood feel, this announcement may matter even more to you. Because the family pool is exactly the group that's most likely to care about this. And if families can confidently choose Sylvan Lake, your home may become more relevant to more buyers. Fourth, buyers coming from Edmonton, Calgary, Red Deer, or elsewhere in Alberta, or anywhere in Canada. This is a signal. Sylvan Lake is not just a summer town. It's not just a lake destination. It's not just a place where people visit in July and August. It is becoming a stronger year-round community with serious infrastructure, family demand, and regional importance. For out-of-town buyers, that is important because the question is not only, do I like Sylvan Lake? The question is it a smart long-term move? This announcement makes that question easier to answer. Fifth, lakefront and lifestyle buyers. Now, lakefront buyers are sometimes a little different. They may not be as directly motivated by schools. Some are buying for lifestyle. Some are buying for retirement. Some are buying a second property. Some are buying because lakefront property is limited and unique. But even there, this announcement still matters because stronger community infrastructure supports the entire town. More families, more services, more year-round demand, more confidence. A rising community story can support demand across multiple price points, including a lifestyle of lakefront opportunities. And finally, investors and builders should be paying attention. When a community adds major school capacity, that can support future residential development. It can support population growth. It can support rental demand from families. It can support confidence in newer subdivisions. It can reinforce the idea that Sylvan Lake is not done growing. Again, this does not mean every deal is automatically a good deal. You still have to look at the numbers. You still have to understand the neighborhoods. You still have to understand the timing, condition, location, price. But as a long-term signal, yep, this is meaningful. So what should you actually do with this information? If you're a buyer, do not just ask, hey, where are the prices today? Ask, where is this community going? That's the better question. Because if you're buying in Sylvan Lake, you're not just buying into the current vision of the town, you're buying into the next version as well. You're buying into the community Sylvan Lake is becoming. This announcement gives you another piece of that future. If you are a seller, do not overhype this. Buyers are smart. They do not want exaggeration. They want context. The right way to talk about this is not prices are going to explode because of the two schools. That sounds like sales pressure. The right way to talk about is this. Sylvan Lake is receiving a major long-term education infrastructure, and that strengthens the community appeal for families. That's way more credible. It's grounded. It's believable. And guess what? It's true. And if you're a homeowner deciding whether to sell now or wait, this announcement should be part of your strategy, not your entire strategy. Your decision still depends on your home, your neighborhood, your price range, your timeline, inventory levels, buyer activity, and your next move. But this is one more reason the long-term Sylvan Lake story looks strong. If you're an investor or builder, this is a reason to pay attention to growth corridors, family-oriented housing, access routes, new subdivisions, and neighborhoods that could benefit stronger education infrastructure over time. The key is not to chase the hype. The key is to understand where confidence is building before everyone else does. That is where the smart real estate decisions usually happen. Okay, here's the bottom line. Sylvan Lake has been growing for years. In a lot of ways, the community has been waiting for the infrastructure to actually catch up. This announcement is the province saying, yep, growth is real. And yes, Sylvan Lake needs the kind of school infrastructure that matches where the town is going. That matters for families. It matters for students. It matters for the local economy. And yes, it matters for real estate, because this is not just about 2 buildings. It's about confidence. It's about families being able to picture their future here. It's about reducing one of the biggest objections we've ever had for buyers. And it's about Sylvan Lake continuing to shift from lake destination more into a full year-round long-term community. Real estate does not wait for the ribbon cutting. Real estate reacts to confidence. And this announcement gives Sylvan Lake a lot more of that. If you want to understand what this means for your specific property, neighborhood, or a decision you're trying to make in Sylvan Lake, call or text us directly, 587-815-5152. We will give you the honest picture, no hype, no pressure, just the local context you need to make a smart decision. I'm Pat Garritty with the Trilliant Real Estate Group, and we are furiously local.